Thank you very much. When the treasurer's report was given, Matt suggested we might want to buy a boat for the women's council. So it's something to bring up at our next meeting. Our program this afternoon is a gentleman who needs no introduction. Matt McFarlane is everywhere, whether behind the scenes and announcing or performing, or doing whatever it takes to make the festival run smoothly. He came here as a student, and how fortunate we are that he never left. Today we're going to have a conversation and hear some of the unknown facts about Matt. Musician, organizer, administrator extraordinaire. So I'll begin by asking my first probing question. Matt,
Yes.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
I'm the type of person that finds something that I like and I stick with it. So when I go to Kilwins, I always get the chocolate peanut butter in a cup with hot fudge. Every time. Oh.
I'm not sure I need the microphone, but don't leave today until you look at Matt's shoes. His tennis shoes are great.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice. Well, I have a very loaded question. When and how did you get to Bayview?
This is a great question. So Martha Hart was my wife's voice teacher in college, and early on, I started playing in her studio. I had never thought about accompanying or playing. I went to Graceland University as a trombone player, but piano was an important part of my parents wouldn't let us, my brother and I, quit piano lessons until we were 18. We tried really hard to quit, but there wasn't an option. We had to take piano all the way until we graduated, and then what we did with it was what we did with it. Well, it turned out really well because my brother is a staff accompanist down at Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, and he also has played for ballet for several years. So both he and I, piano has paid us back like 100-fold what our parents invested in it. So Martha was Molly's voice teacher, and I was playing in her studio. And every we get to like February, March, she'd be like, "You guys have to come to Bayview. You have to come to Bayview." And we're like, we're good. We're just gonna hang out in Southern Iowa. It's fine. So eventually, one summer, and you know what? Actually, for us, the cost was significant even back then. It's probably twice what it was in 1998. But it got to be the week before Bayview, and the trombone player dropped out. And so Martha called and said, "Hey, we got a free ride. They need a trombonist. You come up. Molly can be in the opera. You do that." And so I came up and I worked. So I was free because I played trombone, and then I played for the musical in the evenings. And then I worked off Molly's bill by working for Irv. And so I would do all sorts of little odd jobs for Irv Prescott. And like the risers, I'd set up on Thursdays and Sundays, up and down, up and down. Now we just set them and leave them because it's a different time, and they're still really heavy, but I don't think kids can lift as much now. So I watched them set them up a couple of weeks ago, and it was rough. Yeah. So I came up and I worked with Irv, and so he I'd work 15, 20 hours a week for Irv, and eventually I'd hit the point where I paid Molly's bill off, and then we'd start getting money, and we came back the next summer and did the same thing. And Molly was she was in the opera again. And that's where, that summer, I think you guys remember J.J. Penna. He was a pianist for one summer up here. Really, really excellent pianist from Westminster Choir College. We met him there, and that's how we ended up going to Westminster to do our master's work over there. So that's how we ended up at Bayview, was Martha Hart. And we were super happy that, they encouraged us to be here. It was really fun to be here with them, and they're lifelong friends of ours. We keep in good touch with them, and Martha just retired from teaching. She was the mezzo for many, many years here. Yeah.
Now,
so that's how I got here.
Tell us more about Molly.
Yeah.
When did you two really cement?
Okay, so we came to Bayview as the married couple. We were already married, older than married couple. And we could room together in the dorm, which was tremendous. Chris was great. I'll tell you, there was a point where, I transitioned from being a student to being the operations person. There was sort of a hybrid summer where Irv and I did it together. Irv was going to retire, and he said to Rod Slocum, "You just hire this guy." And so that's how I ended up being the operations person in 2004. So my most vivid memory of living in the dorm was waking up, like there's just a few rooms that you can actually fit like a queen size bed in, but the one room I remember waking up in the middle of the night, something was dripping on my forehead, and it was because we were right underneath the bathroom on the floor above. So after that summer, Molly said, "I'm not doing the dorm again." And there's people knocking on the door all hours of the night wanting this and that and the other. And so Ray Fowler advocated for us to have a space that wasn't in with the faculty, that was away from people, and we were able to kind of get away, and that was really nice. So we spent several summers in the flats living next to the Pedersens, and we've pretty much stayed on almost every rental down in the flats. I can tell you what they're like down there if you want to. So Molly, that wasn't the question though. I'll get back to Molly. So Molly and we went to Graceland together, and I think I was a senior and she was a freshman, and we had a really great brass quartet. We thought we were great. I mean, I didn't know what was great until I came up here and met Scott Thornburg, right? So we thought we were great, and our trumpet player graduated, and we needed a trumpet player, and Molly had played trumpet, and so we're like, okay. And she could drive, that was important. Because after all of rehearsals, we went up to the Leon Lanes and went bowling.
Oh.
And we needed someone to drive us back. We did. We were making safe life choices. We needed someone to drive us back. So Molly was, and then they did formals. We had little houses, kind of like Hogwarts, but we had different houses, and her house had a formal, and she invited me, and that was it. It was done. Though I did have an interaction with her dad before we were even dating. She was in high school in Lamoni, Iowa, where Graceland is. She was in the Graceland Orchestra as a high school student. She was in the college orchestra, played violin as a high school student. And she, with a high school group, had gone down to Independence, Missouri for an event at Worlds of Fun, I think is the theme park. And she forgot to take her violin with her, and so I needed to take the violin. Her dad called me, said, "Hey, can you take this violin down for Molly? I know you're going down there," which was great. Her dad came to my dorm room and knocked on the door. I didn't know who was there, and I was like, "Hey, what is it? Who do you want?" And I was shouting, and that was my first interaction with Molly's dad, who was a college dean at that point. So, kind of a rough start, but he and I are great now. We're good. So that's how we met.
Now, when you refer to Iowa,
Yeah.
were you born and raised in Iowa?
Mm-hmm.
I too am from Iowa.
Where are you?
I'm from Marshalltown.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, my roots go back to my great-grandfather. But when I first started in Bayview, I knew that you came from Iowa. I thought, that's what I heard through the grapevine. I was so impressed. We were the only ones from Iowa. Oh, now, going a little bit further,
Yep.
your children.
Yeah.
Tell us about your children.
Yeah, no, I was born in Oldline, Iowa, so northeast Iowa for me, and Molly was actually born in Ohio, but her family moved to Lamoni because her dad was an administrator at Graceland, so then she went to Graceland, we met there. I got two kiddos. Fiona is 11, and she seems like she's probably 15 at this point. I'm having trouble keeping up with that scene. And Rogan is 7, and he is full-on experience at all times. He wakes up and he starts running like the road runner. Yeah, the energized running. That's the moment he gets up, and then he'll run until the moment he falls asleep. And so they're two very different personalities. He's the extrovert, she's the introvert, but they're both artistic kids. They're both very creative, both active minds. Imagine, I had both of them this morning at 6:15 when that thunder went off. I ended up with a room full. It was like the sound of music. All in my bed with me. Yeah. So yeah, those are my kiddos. Fiona's going to go into 6th grade, Rogan's going into 2nd grade, and they love club. Fiona's doing youth theater up here, and she's going to be the fiddler of Fiddler on the Roof, so she's excited about that. She went to rehearsal last night and stood around for 2.5 hours, and this is the first time she's gone to an official musical rehearsal, not youth theater. Not that youth theater's an official thing, but she's like, I just had to stand there for like 2.5 hours. I'm like, yeah, that's what you do. Who's next?
Now, I have one more.
Oh, okay.
Well, we would like to know a little bit about your real job when you leave Bayview.
Yeah. So my off-season job, I work at, it's the PIM Arts High School, and PIM is an acronym for the Performing Institute of Minnesota. And it's a charter arts high school. Minneapolis has 3 arts high schools, and our school opened in 2004. I started as the instrumental music teacher, and I did that for 10 years. And at that point, I was ready to do something different, and I'd started taking administrative classes, and I was working for an admin license. And the executive director position opened up, and I just applied for it to practice interviewing, so I'd be ready for other interviews. And I got the job. And so I've been the executive director at the PIM Arts High School for 10 years now. It's our 20th, last year was our 20th year. And we have about 360 students that study instrumental music, vocal music, theater, musical theater, dance, visual arts, and media arts. And in Minneapolis, visual and media arts are huge. So 60% of our students are visual media students. But these students are incredible. It's a free education. We use the charter platform really only to exist in a way we can exist as an art school. We're an autonomous school. So it's a charter school, but we only utilize the charter system to exist as an art school. We think of ourselves as an art school more than a charter school. State funded, free education for the kids. But our students are incredible. Like there's a scholastic art competition every year, visual media arts. Our kids won like 200 some awards. In terms of school size, we were 0.017% of the total students that submitted stuff, and we won 40% of the awards in the state of Minnesota. So these kids are incredibly gifted. We just found out like a week ago that 5 of them received national scholastic awards, which comes with scholarship money for those kids. A lot of those kids probably wouldn't go on to college without that sort of assistance. And the kids are across the spectrum. You know, it's a really unique group of kiddos. Our focus is creating safe space for them to grow as artists and thinkers, and that's hard work. Creating safe space. Kids right now they're really they've become very good at the art part again. That's good. After COVID, the art part was challenging because they missed a step or two along the way. Being a human part is more difficult now. So we're working really hard with them on being good humans to each other and learning how to interact appropriately in the day and age of online communication, which is not always cordial, and in-person communication then mirroring, which isn't always cordial. So that's the big work right now that we're doing with them,
And
being
it's
good
high
people.
school?
Yeah, 9-12 high school. Yep. What's next? Who's next?
Me. You seem to be able to play every instrument. Could you just list some of those?
I was thinking this on Wednesday night at Tony's concert, which was incredible, right? He's creating a new genre of music, this sort of chamber fusion where he's using like the idioms of popular music and matching it with the high skill set of the musicians that are here. I remember him, this isn't the answer to your question,
Okay,
but I'll answer that for a second. Because I think this is really interesting. I think you're seeing the genesis of a new thing. And I think no one else is doing it. Like Tony does this better than anyone else. Like I don't know anyone who's doing what he's doing better. But these classical musicians have such a high skill set, and he writes music that challenges their skill set, and yet still uses the contemporary idioms. You look at there's groups that you can listen to, classical ensembles playing pop music, but it sounds like boring pop music. He writes classical chamber music on pop themes. It's incredible. Anyway. I was thinking about this the other day. I was trying to think of all the instruments I've played at Bayview. So I've played the piano, I've played the organ, I played the gong. He told me to play it really loud. He said, play it really loud, Dave. And in rehearsal, it wasn't loud enough. And the drummer, Dave Zerby, said, use 2 meters. So apparently it was a little loud in the concert. And I listened to his recording, and he's already dialed it down. So we're okay. I played the timpani. I played the bass drum. I played timpani with Fred. I played the bass drum. Martha did a set of tunes that required me to play some rigatoni pasta and a tube. I remember playing the tube, the pasta phone. Trombone, yeah, I played trombone. I did take all the classes because I did music education. I took the classes for like woodwinds and brass, and I took string methods for like 1 week and quit that because I couldn't get my hand to do this thing because my hand's done this thing for so long. But those are my main ones. I mean,
And you sing.
I don't call myself a singer, but when called upon to, I will sing.
But Sondheim was difficult. Whoa.
I wish you'd pick something with less words. I mean,
I know, it was fast.
that was tricky. And
It was good.
and it went fine.
It was beautiful. It was fun.
And you can sing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can. Like I said, I'm not going to call myself a singer. Because I don't work on it. Like the people that sing really well here work so hard at singing. Like, I don't work at that. I just stand up and shout through notes, you know?
We understand.
Marketing.
What would you do on a day off?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't know.
Well, things we love this area. I love being by the bay and by water. I'm naturally called to water. I don't know why, but things I enjoy are around water. Living in Minnesota is nice, but this is a real lake, you know. I've always really enjoyed going down by the bay and sitting and looking for rocks or throwing rocks or seeing what's washed up or just being out on the water is enjoyable. I like scuba diving, but I don't really do that here or in Minnesota. But the water's always been like a calling to me. I like doing stuff with my kids and with Molly. We'll do day trips around here, and we enjoy the restaurants and the food and going uptown and just walking around and seeing what's different.
In line with that, what's your perfect burger?
Perfect burger. Minnesota has the Juicy Lucy. You're familiar with the Juicy Lucy? It's a Minnesota thing. So you take the hamburger and you flatten it, cut it in half, flatten it, put cheese in the middle, put more meat on it, cook it, smash it, put cheese and bacon on it, pickles, ketchup, mayo. But the cheese in the middle is the key. It's really good. Perfect.
When we had our Sloppy Joe luncheons, he said in Minnesota we call these loose meat sandwiches.
That's right, loose meat sandwich. That's Iowa.
That's right.
Loose meat sandwich.
What was the last thing you watched on Netflix?
If you can share.
Yeah. I wasn't watching it actively, but Bridgerton was on recently in my household. I'm always a big Bridgerton fan, so we were watching the first half of Bridgerton. I like those documentaries about sports figures, like the quarterbacks one I liked a lot. I enjoyed the golf one, the tennis one. Those are fun to kind of see what the life is like around what you see. You know, you just see them playing and doing their sporting things. But I also like, I'm working through Parks and Rec again. I've watched that several times. The series is hilarious. The Office I've watched several times on there. I'll find it, like I said, I find what I like, and I like my ice cream. I'll find a series I like and I'll just like digest it over. You find something new every time.
Is there anything about you that you'd like to share that we haven't asked about? Or do you want to make something up?
What would you, what?
No.
Probably let that one go. There's things about me you probably shouldn't know.
Matt, you're just a fabulous, fabulous person, and everyone in this room thinks so.
Oh.
We just love you so much, and all that you do for Bayview, and don't complain about it. I know if I need something.
Happy to do it.
Yes, yes. And now, the floor is open for questions.
We'll take questions from the audience.
Yes.
Let's do it.
I have never heard Molly perform. Does she not perform?
She has. She's performed here some. She performed as a student here.
As a student, but I
She doesn't love performing. It's not her passion. She's a fabulous singer and a great violinist. Yeah. She studied vocal performance at Westminster with Sharon Sweet was her teacher, her fabulous teacher. But she just doesn't love it. You know, she's very good at it, but it's not something that feeds her. So you don't, if asked, she will. Like she sang over at Toby Jones's church last summer once, and she sung on Vespers a few times. She sang with the festival choir when she was a student, but it's just not. It doesn't. I mean, I love it. I love being up on stage. I love playing. I love performing. I love playing with. My favorite thing to do is being a part of a group or an ensemble. I don't love solo playing. I mean, that doesn't interest me. It's the interaction and like playing with Owen and Phil and Dave Zerby on the opening Vespers. That was a blast for me to sit and be entertained by those guys while playing and pick things up. Playing for Risa last Sunday, I just love that. It feeds me. It just doesn't feed her in the same way. And she likes planning things and seeing those planned. Like we do a church job together at home. We kind of split it. It works really well. She does all the planning and the thought, and she looks at the word, makes sure it matches up with all of the anthems. It drives her crazy when the pastor changes themes, on Sunday morning, drives her nuts. When the scriptures change up, But she's really, really good at creating a cohesive musical element in a service. She likes that. Yeah.
Do you make your kids take piano lessons?
Well, the funny thing, this is a funny question. No, we make them take violin lessons. Rogan needs piano lessons. I mean, he needs them badly, but it's like you can only battle that kid so much in a day. So I need to get on that with him, but he'll sit down and play carol. He sits down and figures stuff out. He's got a really, really strong ear. that was I think that came through my family line actually. This ear thing where we can hear things and play them. If I've heard something, I can play it. If I can recognize the tune and make sense of it, he's kind of the same way. Like he'll just sit down and pick out. We got him a little keyboard for Christmas, and the first thing he does when he wakes up in the morning is like we're waking up to Carol of the Bells, like for months after Christmas. Like God rest ye merry gentlemen for months after Christmas. It's kind of like hearing "Go Tell It on the Mountain" every lunch, right? I mean, why are we hearing "Go Tell It on the Mountain" in the Carolyn? I don't know. Okay. So no, but they should. Yeah.
So Molly was in a musical, so tell us.
Oh yeah, she was in Oklahoma here, and the funny, like at the T, the people we were sitting with, their daughter was in Oklahoma with Molly, and so we were taking they were taking pictures, and it was funny. She was in Oklahoma. She was in. Do you remember Albert Herring, the opera? I think it's one of the best operas Bayview ever did when we were students. She was in Albert Herring. It was. Remember when the opera was over Voorhees? It was awful. It was terrible.
It still is. Voorhees.
Well, I'm not going to say anything negative about anything here, but I will say that I think Hall works really well for the opera. But I mean, it was a different time. Like the singers had a lot. They weren't like these kids are going on to be singers, right? These are going to be opera singers. When we were students, it was kids who were coming to try out opera for the most part from small schools. That's why Molly kind of fit in. But her voice is more like oratorio. She loves doing art songs. She did a recital here at Bayview.
I remember that. We were there.
6-7 years ago, maybe. So yeah, she's got a beautiful voice. It's gorgeous.
And she also joins the festival choir
She's-
when we altos really need
Yeah,
help.
I mean, if you pestered her, she would do it.
Yes.
I'm sure. But she's not gonna just say, you know what? Well, she's not gonna wake up on Wednesday and say, you know what I'm gonna do today? I'm gonna go join the festival choir.
No.
Yeah.
What do you mean that Rogan badly needs piano lessons?
Well, he's just playing on his own, and he's got terrible fingering. His fingering's awful. Like he's just like, and if he learned the actual technique and structure of playing, I think he'd be really, really good. However, he's got this personality that's like I know that, I know what I'm doing. He's like a 7-year-old boy. So we got to find someone else to teach him. You know? Okay. Yeah. He'd do really well if he was taking lessons, but someone else needs to battle him. We can only battle him on so many things. I'm going to call on Bill, men's auxiliary, the women's
Do you
council.
think any of your high school students may be coming to Bayview to entertain us sometime?
That's a great question. The students that we have are mostly, like, our instrumental program is contemporary music. It's rock, jazz, it's that vein. So right now, I mean, I've got a student who's on a West Coast tour, a former student that's West Coast touring with Lake Street Dive. It's like a Minneapolis band. She's in this band called, it'll come to me. It's not going to come to me. It'll come to me later. But our kids are out performing in rock bands at festivals and stuff like that. Unless Bayview started a rock program, I don't think you probably see very many of our instrumentalists and our singers.
Well, maybe it's
But
another genre we can introduce.
it could be. I mean, there's always room for all types of music, I know, but there's also things we do really well here, and the structure is set up for that, and it works really well. There is a student, though, from Molly teaches. Oh, I should have said this. She teaches adjunct voice at Gustavus Adolphus College in central Minnesota, where the floods are right now. The flooding in Minnesota is really bad. I mean, if you knew that. But she teaches there, and there's a student from the first student from Gustavus is here this summer, and so he's one of the singers. Josh is from Gustavus, studies with David Kazizik, who was a Bayview student when we were students. Molly helped him get the job at Gustavus, so there's Bayview ties happening all over the place. But David's student Josh will be in the opera. Really cool guy. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to circle back to the beginning when you were talking about Tony's talent
Yeah.
and this classical fusion. How does he compare to the music of the piano guys? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I think it's a little different. I think Piano Guys is really digestible to the ear. Tony's music you have to listen to for a while. Like, he did some of the same songs this year that he did at his Piano Man concert. What was it called? Dueling Pianos last year. And this year, for me, I was like, oh yeah, I like the song so much better because I remember it. I've digested it. I look forward to it. Piano Guys, I think, is really meant to be easily digestible in the moment.
Yes, that's true.
And it sounds like those tunes, it's wonderful arrangements. They're very creative, and they come up with. I like listening to Piano Guys. I think Piano Guys stuff would play really well at Vespers. You know, that's so easily digestible. You don't have to work. Tony's music, you have to work. You have to work to play it. I mean, you watch Casey playing, like some of the stuff Casey's playing and Tony playing. It's like Casey's insanely good. Like, she's the one, you know. No offense to Tony, he would say the same thing. But the things they're playing are so hard, and you have to, like, he plays me recordings of them, and you really have to work to listen to it. It's effort. But once you've done the work, it's so fun to listen to that music. And then, do you know what would be really interesting, I think, is for Tony to come and do a talk about all the references in the music, because everything is so layered with meaning in this music. Like this like the song that he did for the Pedersens. There's specific moments that he remembers seeing them do something that he wrote. Like, I think a really easy example is the Hitchcock rag that he wrote, right? And you know when he falls down the stairs, right? But that is throughout all of his music. It's so layered with depth and meaning, and you have to extract it from him. You have to say, Tony, what's going on here? Oh yeah, that's the time that I ran my car into a deer on the way to Vegas, you know. Stuff like that. But that would be like the, you know, how you have your Patreon page where artists can make extra money. That would be his bonus features on the DVD. You have Tony talk through one of his pieces, because I think he could sit and talk for hours about one piece. Yeah. Is there a what's he? Oh, okay.
Well, what was the first year you came?
98. So we came in 98, 99, 2000. We did not, and we decided that we were my family was taking a trip to the beach in North Carolina, and they wouldn't let us leave for a week and go to the beach. So we didn't come. That was the Garrett Glaze era. You know, you had to be there the whole, like, just very strict. Very strict in the Garrett Glaze times.
You've outlasted them all.
I know. Well, that's what Irv told me to do. He's like, People come and go, you just do your job. That's what he told me. That's what I did.
Matt, thank you so much for coming. No, there's cookies.
There's cookies.
Please stay, please stay.
I'll have a cookie.
Okay. Thank you all.
Okay.